Mummy from 1932 and directed by a Karl Freund. So like all the others in this Universal Monsters box set, I've not seen The Mummy before until last night, so I could do a review for you guys. So the movie begins with a team of archaeologists who have just dug up a mummy named Imhotep, and they accidentally bring him back to life by reading this magic scroll. Fast forward, I think it's 10 years, and the mummy has disguised himself in society as a modern Egyptian, and he's searching for his long lost love that he believes has been reincarnated as a modern Egyptian woman. During the scene in the first act where the mummy is awoken, he's awoken by one of the archaeologist's assistants, and he ends up reading this magic scroll and the mummy awakens. And it was quite a creepy and tense scene. The horror is really added by the reaction and the performance of the assistant. He just screams at this creature, and you don't really see the creature, you only see his hand and the cloth that he's been tied up in going through the door as he walks away. And that for me helped add aura to that moment, and that if you didn't actually see the creature full on, like you see the creature full on when he's dead, but when he was alive you only ever saw his hand, and I like that. And then when the assistant is questioned about what's going on, the assistant's response, I think, is brilliant. He's been driven to madness, he's laughing manically, and his response is, he went for a little walk. I just love that line, it was great. A great makeup again by the legendary Jack Pierce. I really liked the makeup on Boris Karloff as the mummy. It looked real. It did really look real. I liked it. He did a really good job with the makeup in this film. And like all his performances that I've witnessed in these movies so far, Boris Karloff's performance as the mummy was great. He has this very sort of striking and iconic presence about him, and a very creepy performance as well. I also really liked Zita Johann's performance as Helen, Imhotep's long lost love reincarnated. I thought her performance was very mesmerizing and felt very real and natural. Now, this movie for me wasn't, an in-your-face sort of horror. Like, it has horror elements, but it was more of a fantasy love story than anything. It had no real scares. Like, it has a very sort of eerie atmosphere and mood. But when it comes to sort of scares, it really didn't have any. The horror in this movie is relied more on the mood and atmosphere that's created throughout the movie. It's very atmospheric and hypnotic as well, and it relies more on sort of supernatural forces than actual brutal death scenes. And I really like the music in this film. It really gives the film an epic and exotic feel about it, as well as actually being on location in a desert. Now, it wasn't Egypt, it was somewhere in America, I believe, but by actually being on location in the desert really gives this film realism. It makes the film feel more real. It also gives the film a sense of scale and adventure, because it makes you feel like you're actually in Egypt. And I really appreciated that. I liked that. It helps add a lot more realism to the film, and the sets as well. When they're actually on set, the production value of this film is very good. The sets looked great. You've got solid direction from Colin Freund. Some really nice special effects in this film. During the opening, you've got the mummy chiseled into the side of a pyramid. It's model work, and I just really liked it. It looked nice. And you've got some really nice cinematography, when it comes to the lighting and the shadows and all of that. Technically this was a very well crafted movie, and it was especially at the time, it would have been a marvel to look at. And there's great use of music within this movie as well. They use the music when it's needed, but when it comes to actually creating the tension and the horror, they don't use the music, and it's silence. And I love that, because it's something that I wish a lot of modern horror movies today would use. It's a technique that I wish a lot of horror movies would use today. And they utilised the music in this movie, The Mummy, very, very well. Like I said, they use it when needed. But when it comes to the actual horror and in creating the tension, they don't rely so much on it. And for me, relying less on music helps create a much more eerie and atmospheric experience, which is what I felt they did or achieved with this movie, The Mummy. And I do feel like relying less on music also helps add tension as well. Not all the time, it depends on the score and the arrangements and all of that, but sometimes I feel like tension is created more by just having silence. So what didn't I like about The Mummy from 1932? Well, for me, it felt like it was a very ponderous experience, especially when it comes down to the script and the drama. Overall, I just felt like this film was very dull, and I believe the script had a large part to play in that. The script wasn't the greatest, I felt. For me, the film's biggest problem is its script. Technically, it looks great. You've got great sets, and the film looks great, and technically, it's a very well-made film. But it has a very ponderous narrative. The pacing is very, very slow, and overall, it ends up being quite a dull experience, a very ponderous experience, and it is all down to the script and the narrative. I really liked the overall story. I really, the fact that you've got Imhotep seeking his long lost love. In a way, it is kind of like a tragic love story in a way, and the performances really helped you sort of believe into their characters and get emotionally attached to their characters. So performance wise as well, I mean, they deliver really good performances. But for me, out of the Universal Monsters box set, this was probably the weakest so far. And by no means is it a bad movie. And I don't think it's for everyone. And I think a lot of people are going to be put off by its very sluggish pacing, and it has got a very ponderous narrative, and the script is not the best, and the script could have been tightened up. In fact, the narrative and the script really needed to be tightened up and tweaked. But overall, it's an okay film. It's not really scary, though they do a very good job at creating a very eerie and moody atmosphere throughout the film. But I wouldn't really say there's anything in this movie that's really scary or gives you chills, apart from that first scene in the first act where the mummy awakens. That was probably the only moment in the entire film that sort of gave me the creeps or gave me sort of chills or goosebumps even. So yeah, they are my thoughts and opinions of 1932's The Mummy starring Boris Karloff, and I will be giving it a B-. So I got 2 films left in the Universal Monsters collection, and they are Dracula and The Invisible Man, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them for the first time, believe it or not, and doing my reviews for them, and I would hopefully have them up by tomorrow evening, the latest. So yeah, they've just missed Halloween, but I will have them up by tomorrow evening for you guys. What do you guys think of 1932's The Mummy? Let me know below. I'd be interested to see what you guys, what's your opinion of this film, because I do feel like it's not for everyone. But what do you guys think? Have you seen it before? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you like what you see, or you share the same passions as me, then why not hit subscribe?